folks. Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to show you today what I recommend in lures for fishing South Florida. I just caught this little bass, not much to it, little old spinnerbait bass. But we're out here. It's a frog dog day. But the big part of it, it's 70 degrees today, and guess what? It's just on the new moon cycle of February, the end of February. So I started off today with my little Red Man spinnerbait by Jimmy Houston. I just threw right down this little grass line, and I could probably throw right over this grass line as well. There's another grass line right here. There's a little point of stuff I can just kind of roll that spinnerbait along, slow and easy. Just roll it along. And now, okay. Today I wanted to show you what I recommend for lures for South Florida. It's the spawning season, water temperature 70 degrees. Okay, I just happened to come out. It's a frog dog's rainy day. It's kind of a bad day, but I'll just show you to start with, what's my favorite lure? Well, I like the visual action of either a devil's horse, like this one, which is just a superb lure. That's the devil's horse that I've used for 30 or 40 years. I just love it. I just love it. It's just wonderful. It's just a great lure. But it takes a calm day. Today is a windy day. It's really not a good day for topwater, because what you need for topwater is you need fairly clear water, and this is a little dingy, and you need fairly calm water. It's a little bit too windy. And then you need warm water like we have now, and of course the moon phase. Now the other topwater that I really like is this Spro Pop 80. And that's a really, really good one. I'm going to just throw it real quick and show you how I use it. On the Spro Pop 80, what I'll do is I'll throw it down on a good ambush point, or I'll just throw to these points of reason to show you. I'll make a long cast, and right now the wind's blowing too much, and it's too much. It's really not. It's not a setup for a really good topwater bite. But normally, if it were calmer water, I'd let it sit there for about 10 seconds and then just twitch it just a little teeny bit, and the ripples would die out. Well, now, this is again too much wind. Again, I'll twitch it again a couple times, and then I'm actually working at those first 3 or 4 feet are so essential. I'm not working it very far. I'm throwing it to the target, and I'm thinking that he's pretty close to that point. Well, once I get it out, and I've twitched it 4, 5, 6 times, I kind of think it's probably the end of the deal. So quite often I'll just reel it in. I'll look for another spot. Maybe this time I'll come over here again. I wish it wasn't so windy. I can show you better. I'll throw to this little corner right there, right in that little pocket, right up next to the reeds. Let it sit there and I'll give it a little twitch. Not much of a twitch. Another little twitch. Again, it's too windy. I can't really tell you that it's a good day for topwater. It's not a good day, but it's my favorite lure. It's my favorite lure because I love the way the action is. I love the topwater strike. I love the way a big 5 or 6 pound bass will come up and just suck it down sometimes, like a little bluegill. Okay, so the topwater is really, really a big choice. Okay, so I started off with a spinnerbait, but you know the complement to a spinnerbait right now is a chatterbait. Chatterbait and a spinnerbait are almost one and the same in the fact that they both vibrate with a blade, or in this case it's a vibrating jig as a chatterbait, and spinnerbait's not far off of that. Doesn't represent anything in nature. It's not matching the hatch of any sort, but for some reason they bite it. It's an aggravating kind of thing. And again, what I'll do with the chatterbait, it's much like the spinnerbait. It's a moving lure. I cover a lot of water, so in this case I'll throw down this point again where I'm shot, and just kind of, and look at the rod tip. The rod tip is just going crazy. I don't know if you can see that rod tip. The rod tip is just going crazy. It's hard to see it, but anyway, the rod tip's going nuts. It's an easy lure to fish. Both spinnerbaits and chatterbaits, all you do is just cast and retrieve for the most part. You're bumping it over all sorts of cover and stumps. And, in this case, there's little bushes in here, and there's old dead cattails, and there's all kinds of stuff at the bottom. So you're hitting that. You're bumping the stump in this case. A lot of times you'll bump a little limb, an old limb, or a piece of grass. You bump something. And with that chatterbait and the spinnerbait both, it's essential to keep bumping stuff. It's really, really kind of a good deal. Okay, I'll throw over this way. Come down this spot. Bumping a lot of stuff. Again, I'll just throw that chatterbait. Nice long cast, just past everything. Just kind of get it up here. Now the wind's blowing like crazy. It's hard for me to explain and show you how to use these different lures because it's a windy, rainy day, and it's not conducive. I can catch fish here, but it's hard to show you catching fish on just this kind of a condition. So I'm just going to show you the lures and how I work them. And that's the important part. Is that I kind of keep my rod at a 45 on the chatterbait. Again, I'm just going to throw it to open water, and I'll show you. I'll just throw it out there. And in this case, I got it right at about a 45. When he loads up on it, I just reel into him hard. I keep a fairly tight drag. Now, what I like to use on chatterbaits and spinnerbaits both is about a 50-pound braid. Now, you can get by with a 30-pound braid, but you know, you come down to Florida, for example, and you're allowed to catch that trophy of a lifetime, that 10 or 12 pounder. And if he runs into this big, thick willows and these big, thick cattails like right over here, if you throw over there like this, and a 10 or 12 pound bass hits and runs into that stuff, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. So why take the chance? It's the dingy water. It's not going to spook him any for a 50-pound braid. A 50-pound braid is going to look and cast as well as the 30-pound braid. It's going to give you that extra edge for catching that trophy bass. Okay, chatterbaits are really a deal. Now, what's the #1 lure for catching bass? #1 lure for catching bass in South Florida, in my estimation, is some type of a worm. I'm going to show you the worm that I like. The worm that I like the best. Here's my worm. Okay. I happen to be throwing it on a spinning rod today, and I have 30-pound line on this spinning rod. Now again, I was fishing open water, and I normally fish the Cinco on 50-pound line. But this isn't really a Cinco. This is a Sticko by Bass Pro. And it's a 6-inch worm. It's got, in this case, it's blue with kind of a blue tail, so that's a good combination. Green pumpkin, that 297 color. That's a really another good color. Now I'm throwing it now on a 1/16 of an ounce lead weight. Now that was yesterday and there wasn't much wind. Today there's so much wind I might have to go to an 1/8 ounce. The higher the wind, the heavier the weight. Once the wind blows about 20 miles an hour, I'd go to a 1/4 ounce, maybe even a 3/8 ounce, and I don't hate that. Once the wind gets up to over 25 miles an hour, mark my words, go home. you can't hardly fish at 25. When it's blowing 25 miles an hour, it's very difficult to worm fish. About the only thing you can do is throw a few. You can throw a crankbait, a lipless plug like an Aruco shad or a rattle trap. You can throw a spinnerbait, but big heavy winds are tough to fish with the worm. But right now it's blowing about 10 or 15. What I do with this worm is, again, when I come to a hard line like this one, sometimes I'll throw the worm up on the hard line, just a little bit up there. I just throw it right on top of it. And the fish, if he's underneath all that stuff, he hears it kind of coming along, and I'm kind of pulling it along in the water. I pull it in the water and I drop it right there. It's right. It dropped down right at the hard line. It's all a couple feet deep right there. I'll let it sit there 5 or 10 seconds, kind of twitch it a little bit, and he didn't take it. So again, that's first 2 or 3 feet. If he does not hit it, he didn't hit it, I'll reel it in. I don't fool with it a long time. Again, I'll throw this right down here to the hard line. Okay, pull it along the top, kind of drop it in the water right there. If he's there, he'd heard it come across the top of him, and now it's dropped right there in front of him. He's looking at it, maybe. I'm kind of twitching it along, little twitches. Okay, I didn't catch him. Okay, I didn't catch him. Again, you know, all this bass fishing is a matter of hundreds of casts. I mean, you just don't just make a cast here to catch one and a cast there to catch one. You got to really work at it. In a day's time, you know, you might catch 15 or 20 bass, but it's going to be, you're not going to catch one every cast, that's for sure. So I'm going to work that edge along there, and I kind of, when I'm working it, I kind of work. You see that rod tip? I like to just kind of twitch it. It's on some weeds right now. There, it's in open water. It's in open water. Let it sit there. It's on the bottom. Maybe he's looking at it. Maybe he's looking at it. He hasn't taken it. I'm a line watcher. I'm watching that line. I'm just twitching along. I don't feel anything. But that braid, I'm throwing this on braid, and braid is more sensitive. And so the deal with braid is if he hits it, I got a little, it's not exactly tight to the line, a little bow, but the wind's blowing. But I'd kind of feel the twitch. When he hits it, he'd shake his head, and I'd probably feel it with braid better than I'd feel it with monofilament. So it's a better deal for worm fishing. Braid has changed my worm fishing quite a bit. Okay. Now you can actually cast, but you can also kind of pitch a worm. You don't have to. You can just pitch it in these places just like that. Pitch it in right at the end of that point. Again, I'll get the bail over, and I can just kind of twitch it along. Oh, I had one. You saw it? I had a fish. I had a bass. About a pound and a half. I don't know why I missed him, but I had him on the worm, and it was classic because it was just exactly what it should have been. It wasn't a big bass, but it was representative of the deal. It was a little point, kind of like this one. Drop it in, and now I just let it sit there about 5 or 10 seconds, and you saw what happened. I had him on. I don't know why. Okay, here it is. This is a speed worm. Now, speed worm, yesterday, we were fishing Lake Okeechobee. We caught about 20 bass on speed worms. Four pounders, maybe a 5. But anyway, this is a speed worm. I happen to have a little bit of a leader on this one. I got a 25 pound, just for kind of a backup deal. I got a 25 pound fluorocarbon leader on this. And I have a little screw-in weight. That's a 1/8 of an ounce. No, I'm sorry, a 1/16 of an ounce screw-in weight. And that's the big ultra vibe speed worm by Zoom. And they all different people make speed worms. Bass Pro Shop has their own brand. I use it a lot. And that's on a 5/0 EWG hook. Okay, now this is another kind of deal that's just really neat. You just make a long cast with a speed worm, and you just reel it. I got 50-pound braid, and I'm just reeling it along slow and easy. And it's a worm. I'm not stopping it. Now you can stop it. You can stop it like that and let it sit on the bottom for a second. That sometimes works. But a lot of times, you don't have to stop it or anything. You just move it along, just make a long cast with it, and then just reel it along. It's really an easy setup, but it catches big fish. Now when they hit a speed worm, you know, you're just swimming along. They hit it, now it's a worm, so you give it a couple seconds, go forward, and blam, it really set the hook. Now I like to kind of put it in my stomach and really set the hook that way. But speed worms are really cool. Okay, so what I do with the speed worm, I can just go along, and I can cover a lot of water with the speed worm as well. Let me put these power poles up, and I'll show you what I'll do. I'll just kind of come along these back like this, and I'll just swim that worm along. Again, and stop it if you have to. You can fish it like a regular worm, but it swims because the tail is constantly moving. So you just throw it in these little places and just reel it along. It's completely different than a trick worm or a Cinco type of worm. A speed worm is you're moving it all the time. You spin it, you're just easing it along, and you're just casting it past the target, and you just come speeding along, not real fast. Just kind of easy, just a little bit of a swimming. It's a swimming worm. You swim it. You could switch it. You could twitch it some if you want, but a lot of people, they don't do much of anything to it with a speed worm. You just make a cast, and just retrieve it. Just a straight retrieve. That could be real good. Well, there's another surface lure that I think I like it just as much. It's just as good and just as fine as anything that I've shown you so far. And that is a frog. A Spro frog. That's so cool. Let me get you a frog now. This one's set up. I worked with Spro a long time, and Dean Rojas is the one that designed this frog about 20 years ago. And I just love it. It's a Spro 65, Spro 65 series. But notice I bent the hooks out just enough where there's about a 1/16 of an inch gap or an 1/8 of an inch gap between the hook and the body. And what that does, that allows you to, whatever happens, you're gonna hook them. It makes the hook ratio go way high. And this is also a 65-pound test line. And I'm throwing it in these hardline places. The thing about the Spro frog is I can throw it up on top of the grass, and I can come along. I'll show you right over here what I'm talking about. I can switch it along. I can throw it on top of the grass. Now, okay, folks, with the Spro frog, what you can do, you can throw it up on the grass, like right here. You throw it up on that hard line. And now the bass that are 3 or 4 feet back in there, they can kind of feel and hear that thing kind of moving. It's still in the penny ward. They can probably hear it. Now it's in open water. Now it's in open water. Let's sit there. If he's there, he might be right underneath it right now. Twitch it a little teeny bit. Twitch it a little teeny bit. He didn't bite it, so I'll reel it in. Go to the next little spot in the grass. Okay. The fish might hear it. He might kind of right there, and I'm kind of eating it through that penny ward, getting right to the edge of that open water. There, it's in open water. It's in open water. Let it sit there. Let it sit there. Let it sit there. Twitch it a little bit. Twitch it a little bit. Twitch it a little bit. Bam! He should hit it, but he didn't. Okay. But that's the technique. A lot of times I'll throw to the grass and make sure I'm in the grass because it kind of gets them going. And plus, it's a better presentation when you get right to the edge like that. Right to the edge. Now, some people throw it to open water. I don't throw it to open water as much. I like to land on some grass at some point. That's just kind of my feeling. But you can throw it to open water. It can be an open water lure too. There's a fish right here. I don't know what it was. For the last lure that I want to show you that's really a real relevant part of my repertoire. It's my personal repertoire. I'm a power fisherman. I like heavy rods, heavy line, and heavy fish. But anyway, okay. Let's go to my number one deal for lures. My number one deal that I personally use and caught more fish on anything. Even though the Cinco type of lure is the number one worm, this is my number one deal, and that's pitching and flipping the heavy cover. And that's this setup right here. I'm gonna show it to you right now. This is a real heavy duty rod with an extended handle. And I have that handle extended because I don't have the upper body strength I used to have when I was, say, 30, 40 years ago. So now I use my body and I use this as leverage, like a saltwater deal. Okay, and I have 65 or 70 pound braid. This happens to be this is a 1 ounce weight by Spro. I use 1, I use 1 1/4, I use 1 1/2, I use 2 ounces sometimes. And I'll come up to this spot. I'll just show you real close what I'm doing here. This is the killer deal. This wins all the tournaments. All the tournaments on Okeechobee and many on Kissimmee and many all over the place have these lures. They have this flipping technique. The flipping technique wins the tournaments. It really does. Let me get you a little closer to this edge and I'll show you. Okay. Drop this pole down. Now, flipping and pitching is it's power fishing 101. Power fishing 101. Okay, I got a snelled hook, and the secret of the snelled hook is this. This is a whole big secret. This is what all the guys have gone to, and this is a really heavy duty, heavy cover Spro flipping hook. The worm weight is concaved on the inside. Now watch what happens. 100% of the time, the hook point comes up. 100% of the time I pull it, the hook points up. The hook points up. 100% of the time. Not just a little bit of the time. 100% of the time, the hook point comes up. So, with that in mind, you put your lure on there. In this case, it's a, I don't know what it is. It's a beaver kind of lure. I get a lot of my lures from Bass Pro, and I'll hook that hook deep inside it. Okay. Now I'll have a little bobber stop holding that weight so it doesn't slide forward. A little bobber stops there. Okay. Now if you notice this grass, that's a pennywort, and the fish are just underneath the edge of it. So I don't want to go far back. I'll go about a foot or so back in there and drop it down, get the rod in position and lift it up, go to the next one. I don't spend any time doing this, just real quick deal. Just down, get it down in the water. He didn't hit it, he usually hit it right away. He usually hit it right as soon as it goes in the water. They take it. So you got to be ready for them real quick. You got to be really, really quick about it. You just take your thing and flip it in there, and as soon as it's down, so you're ready to set the hook. You're in position. The second they hit it, I'm busting them. I'm busting them hard. I'm taking my thing and I'm flipping. And there's two things. There's pitching and flipping. Let me explain a little bit of pitching and flipping. A flip, when you flip something, you're usually a little closer. And this is a good flipping distance right here. I take the lure and it's about the same distance as the reel. I push the button on the reel and I take the line and I pull out some extra line. Now I can swing. That's about 6 foot there, and about that. Watch this, I can swing it right in there like that. Drop it right down. Put it here, get it ready to set the hook. So that's a flip. This is flipping. That's flipping. Okay, watch the deal. That's flipping. That's an accurate way to do it. Getting right in the grass, dropping it down. That's flipping. That's flipping. Remember, there's pitching as well. So in just a second, I'm going to show you what a pitch is. A pitch is this. This is not, you don't pull the line off the reel. Pitching is where you put the line up, the lure up like you head to the reel, and push the reel button. Now you just swing it out there. Swing it out there like that. A little bit farther, it's not quite as accurate, but you can get way down there. Watch, I can pitch way down there, 30 feet down. See, way down there. That's 30, 35 feet away. You can't flip that far. You can only flip at about 25 feet. Anyway, this is the way to catch some really big fish, and what the guys are doing. Well, my purpose today wasn't to catch a lot of big fish, even though I'd like to. My purpose today was to show you what I think my 5 or 6 favorite lures and techniques are, and just demonstrate to you just how I do it. And it's been really successful. I've had a lot of success here on Okeechobee. The headwaters is alive and well. All these places here in South Florida are just gangbanging. This is the 70-degree water time. This is when the fish are the most active. Hey, so come on down. Listen, I really enjoyed bringing this to you, and if you would, hey, hit that likes button, hit that subscribe button, because that's the engine that makes it all work for me, Bass Pro Shop, and of course, see, I get the Frog Talk people. Today it's a Frog Talk day. I got the Spike It. I got all sorts of good advertisers, but they like that likes. So hit that likes button. Hey, and thanks again. And I hope I taught you a few things about bass fishing here in South Florida. Okay, see you later. Thanks again for watching.